recording. Now I have started recording, so all are requested to write their enrollment number and program code in the chat box. Sir, you are welcome, and over to
Sir,
you.
good evening, sir, and
Good evening.
also thanks for this introduction, and welcome to all the learners, those who present in this evening. Today we will discuss, sir. Hello.
Yes, yes, please.
ଟିକେ କଟି ଯାଇଥିଲେ sir.
Yes, sir.
ହଁ. So today we will discuss in this democracy and development MPS-3 part 2, the unity 22 to 24. It includes the migration and development on the most interesting topic and which is related to this present pandemic COVID-19. And just I will share. Next is environment and sustainable development. It is very important topic. And all the students, they should remain silent and watch over that what is sustainable development. It is very necessary for us, for our sustainability. Next, unit 24, economic reforms and globalization. So, students, you might have that listening. Now we'll start unit wise, that migration and development. That this particular unit focus on the migration and how it is related with development. Migration and development. It expresses the causes of migration, a gap in income between the regions, location of a family network in town, availability of improved that the amenities, marriage, education, or natural disasters. This unit also acknowledge us regarding the rural-urban migration and how migration has increased since 1960s in India, and the migration affects the rights of the people. जो ସ୍ଥାନାନ୍ତରଟା କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ପ୍ରଭାବ ପକେଇଛି ଯେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଅଧିକାର ଉପରେ 1960 ମସିହାରୁ ଏବଂ ଆ ଉପରେ ଆମେ ଥୋର ଡିସ୍କସନ କରିବା ଯେ Article 19 of the Indian Constitution that guarantees to all the citizens the right to reside and settle anywhere else in the India. This freedom of movement is considered ideal for the development of any free and liberal economy. A change in the place of residence at least once is quite common in a wide range of countries. So this point I want to say the migration. What is the concept of migration or the migration meaning? And migration means not the animal migration or the bird migration. So we will discuss the human migration. So for the human migration is the concern. The human migration is the movement of people from one place to another with the intention of setting that permanently or temporarily at a new location. The movement is often over long distances and from one country to another. But internal migration is also possible. People may migrate as individuals, family units, or in large groups. एमती डिफरेंट रीजन्स अच्छी जो कि माइग्रेशन हो पारे in simple we can say that migration is a way to move from one place to another in order to live and work. Movement of people from their home to other city, state or country, for a job, shelter, or some other reasons is called migration. ଯେତେବେଳେ କିଛି ଲୋକ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାକୁ କୌଣସି କାରଣ ପାଇଁ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ କରନ୍ତି, କାମ ପାଇଁ ହଉ ବା ପିପୁଲ ଫ୍ରମ ଦେୟାର ହୋମ ଟୁ ଅନଦର ସିଟି, ଅନ୍ୟ କୌଣସି ଗୋଟେ ସହରକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ, ଗାଁରୁ ସହରକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ, ବା ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ରାଜ୍ୟରୁ ଗୋଟେ ଦେଶକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ, କଣ ପାଇଁ ନା ଆଇଦର କୌଣସି ଜବ୍ ପାଇଁ, ଜବ୍ ପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ ପାଇଁ, କିମ୍ବା ସେଠି ସେଟେଲ ହେବା ପାଇଁ, ବାସସ୍ଥାନ କରି ରହିବା ପାଇଁ, ବା the other region. So these are called the migration. So, uh, so here is the topic is the internal migration. Is the one point. Internal migration. Internal migration is human migration within one that geopolitical entity. Usually a native state, that internal migration tends to be that travel for education and for economic that improvement, or because of a natural disaster or civil disturbances. So these are the regions. Anyway, these are some regions for which the people migrate from one place to another. The region is sometimes that is for education or economic improvement or disaster or civil disturbance. Disturbance ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ ଲୋକ ଏ ଜାଗା ଛାଡିକି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗା ପଳେଇ ଯାଇନ୍ତି, ଆମେ ସେଠି ଯାଇ ସେଟଲ ହବା. Even cross border migration often occurs for political or economic reasons. A general trend of movement from rural to urban areas in a process described as urbanization has also produced a form of internal migration. So just we acknowledged that what is migration. And migration କେମିତି ଭାବେ ରହୁଛି, କୌଣସି ଇକୋନୋମିକ ଇମ୍ପ୍ରୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ହଉ ବା ନ୍ୟାଚୁରାଲ ଡିଜାଷ୍ଟର ହଉ ବା ଡିଷ୍ଟର୍ବାନ୍ସ ହଉ ବା ଜବ୍ ହଉ, these are the some that related that reasons, a factor for which an individual migrate from one place to another, or a group maybe that migrate one place to another place. But so far as the internal migration is concerned, just I will speak the causes of internal migration. Basically, the internal migration that it is a complex phenomenon with a multiplicity of causes and which can be divided into push and pull factors. And you see, these are the two factors which compel and attract to the people for migration. So we'll see the pulls and the pull factors just in the structure. The pulls and the pull factors are those factors which either forcefully push people into migration or attract them. Either ଗୋଟେ ଆକର୍ଷଣ କରିବେ, ନହେଲେ ଗୋଟେ ବାଧ୍ୟ ହବ କୋଉଠି ମାଇଗ୍ରେଟ୍ କରିବା. A push factor is forcefully and a factor which relates to the country from which a person migrates. It is generally some problem which results in people wanting to migrate. Different types of push factors can be seen as a push factor, is a flow or distress that that directives that derives person away from certain place. A pull factor. This was the push factor. That ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ସ୍ଥାନରୁ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ କୌଣସି ଏକ କାରଣ ପାଇଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ପୁsh ଠେଲିକି ପଠାଯାଉଛି ଯେମିତି ଯେ ବାଧ୍ୟ କରୁଛି ଜଣେ ସେ ବାଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ଯେ ସେଠୁ ସେ ଜାଗା ଛାଡ଼ିକି କେମିତି ପଳେଇବ। ତେଣୁ ଏବଂ ଆଉ କୋଉଠି ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ ଦେୟାର ଇଜ୍ ସର୍ଟେନ୍ ସିଚୁଏସନ୍ which attracts people then ଗୋଟେ another placeରେ ଭଲ lucrative salary ଅଛି ସେ salary ପାଇବା ପାଇଁ ମାନେ ଲୋକମାନେ ମାନେ ଆଗ୍ରହ ପ୍ରକାଶ କରି ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି। So the push factor ହେଉଛି ଏତିକି ଥିଲା ଏବଂ pull factor କ'ଣ ନା a pull factor is something that concerning the country to which a person migrates. It is generally a benefit that attracts people a certain place. So that may be so there are two basic types of migration, that is which push and pull factor. There are two basic types of migration, that is internal migration and internal migration studied by demographics. Internal migration, this refers to a change of residence within national boundaries. Okay, ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ଭିତରେ ଆମେ ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ କରିବା ନା ରେସିଡେଣ୍ଟ ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିବା, such as between states, provinces, cities or municipality. So within the state, a person can change his place of residence. Similarly, international migration. Internal migration, international migration. The international migration is refers to a change of residence over national boundaries. Further, the cause of migration can be explained as under. କାହିଁକି ଯୋଉ internal migration ଟା କାହିଁକି ହେଉଛି ଦେଖିବା ସେ କାରଣ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ। The cause of migration can be explained as under. First, the earnings and employment opportunities. Earning and employment opportunities. This is the first cause for which migration is generated. Number two, the family and network. Family network. Third, distance. Distance by migration. Wealth and capital market. Family strategies to contain risks. Next, availability and the qualities of amenities. Incidents of violence, disease, disasters. Next, the migration control and incentives. So we will follow that region, that earning and employment opportunities. Many migration earning and employment opportunities. See that many migrants to urban areas that initially enter the formal sector. For some, This is transitory phase prior to finding more formal employment. Findings on that whether differences in that unemployment rates between that localities promote migration, one missed. Limited evidence suggests that migrants often identify their urban job before migrating, but other migrants do appear to search for work after migration. ये ଦି प्रकार ଯୋଉମାନେ ମାଇଗ୍ରେଟ ହୁଅନ୍ତି ଆଗର ଚିନ୍ତା କରନ୍ତି କୋଉଠି ସେମାନେ ଜବ ପାଇବେ ଏବଂ ପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ କେମିତି ହେବ। ଆଉ କିଛି କିଛି ସେଠି ପଳେଇ ଗଲା ପରେ ଗୁଜରାଟ କି ଅହମ୍ମଦାବାଦ ସେଠି ତାପରେ ରହିକି ତାପରେ କୋଉଠି ଦେଖନ୍ତି କୋଉଠି ସେ ପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ ହେବ। Either while in a temporary employment or while that openly that unemployed. The location of newly created employment opportunities depends in part upon the development strategy adopted. The hypothesis that the import that substitution leads to employment that concentration in large cities lacks systematic testing through a case study of India. Just that liberalization has been a factor in promoting the emerging new terms. So, thus it has been said that a large town offer a greater diversity of employment and hence a chance of re-employment in the event of a layoff. This might render large towns more attractive to migrating workers. This was the earning and employment opportunity for which migration is occurring. Number two, the family and network. How it is one of the causes or factor which promote migration. The family network. This is another cause of interest. Possessing a network of family and friends in a town may encourage migration. भाई की बंधु की के माने अछंती समान कोजन तमी पड़ी आस एठी रहिबा किछि दिन परे पैसा रोजगार करबा एठी जागा किनिबा घर सेटल हो तनु एठी फैमिली नेटवर्क फैमिली फ्रेंड्स दे आर आल्सो insisting to the people to migrate from one place to another place. Migration at the time of marriage to join or accompany a spouse does seem common. या साधारणतः देखा जाए मैरिज पर निश्चित भाव स्त्री के वुमेन के जीव कि मेल फीमेल पाख जीव एमती स्थान विशेष चेंज ओबियस सेटा जाऊँ गोटे कौन स्थानांतर प्रवासन ये few studies also suggest that parents may have the welfare of their offsprings in mind when making their own migration decision. Next cause है distance. Migration over a short distance is much more common than the migration to remote location due to lack of information about that particularly more remote alternatives. Short distance को कहीं पसंद करो सी शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस भीतर से जानी था एमती घटना गले केमती रही कौन करेंगे ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉଠି ରିମୋଟ ଏରିଆରେ ସେଠି କିଛି ଜାଣିନାହାନ୍ତି ସେଟାକୁ ପ୍ରିଫର କରନ୍ତି। ତେଣୁକରି ଡିଷ୍ଟାନ୍ସ ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ କଜ ଅଫ ମାଇଗ୍ରେସନ। ୱେଲ୍ଥ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଦ କ୍ୟାପିଟାଲ ମାର୍କେଟ, wealth and capital market. In complete that imperfect local capital markets may encourage out migration either directly through restrictions on the ability of a family to borrow or indirectly through effects on employment of this. Wealth and capital market time it has to reach. Next, the family strategies to contain that family strategy to contain that risk. In one way, that a family may insure themselves is by having members migrate to locations where times of economic that adversity do not normally coincide with those at home. Remittances between the home base and the migrant then enable that consumption smoothing. That consumption smoothing for family strategy, and also they try to take risk that for migration. Then availability and that quality of immunity, it is also another that regional factor which attracts to the people for migration. Availability and quality of immunities. यदि जो स्थान रे अच्छे चाकरी करते सेठी सुविधा किसी ना, अधिक दरमा मिलला, अधिक फैसिलिटी मिलला, सेठी पिला मानन को पाठ पढ़िया पे सुजोग अछि. So these are the other amenities. So this amenities and quality of amenities attract to the people to migrate from one place to another place. So in this case, you see the improved amenities in that location may attract industry or permit agricultural expansions. This results in employment expansion or higher wages. That wages out migration may be discouraged, and in that migration encouraged. Improved local amenities may also have a direct effect upon migrants' decision, simply by making life in this setting more attractive. जीवन को केमिति आउरी सरस सुंदर करिवे, तेणु जोटू अधिका सुविधा सुजोग मिलला सेठी आमे पळेला. Next, all are the causes of internal migration. Incidents of violence, disease or disaster. ये गुड़िक मध्य होची गोटे कारण जे कोटी कोनसे एक घटना घटिला, कोटी सीवियर दैट violence हला कि गोटे निर्दिष्ट अंचल रे गोटे डिजीज, जो डिजीज केवल सही अंचल जेमिति हमर गुजरात रे बहु आगुरु हेतला जो प्लेग किंबा जो हिली एरिया रे विशेष करी जोटा होची हमर मलेरिया, तेणु से जगार से किसी लोक स्थानांतर होती. And there are certain places that different type of flus are also created. से जगह कौन करते ना पिला लोक माने माइग्रेट होगा पे चले चेष्टा करते. So incidents of violence, disease or disaster. Sometimes violence and natural disaster result in mass migration, either of internally displaced persons or international refugees. However, the extent to which ongoing violence, political repression, and the recurrent risk from disasters increase the flow of migrant is far less well documented. केमिति मन करा जो आमे देखिबा ये जगतसिंहपुर एरिया ଯେତେବେଳେ 1999 ମସିହାର ମହାବାତ୍ୟା ହେଲା ଏବଂ ତାପରେ ପରେ ପୁଣି ଦେଖା ହେଲା ଯେ ଫାଇଲିନ୍, ତାପରେ ଦେଖିବେ ବୁଲବୁଲ, ଏବଂ ସବୁବେଳେ ସେଇ ଅଞ୍ଚଳ ଲୋକମାନେ affected ହଉଛନ୍ତି natural disaster ପାଇଁ. So the people decided to leave that place and to migrate somewhere else to settle their that livelihood. ଏଥିପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି. Next, migration control and incentives. Some states on the that globe have attempted to restrict migrations unless the state is prepared to take that exemplary measures. Such controls are usually ineffective. ଯେମିତି ଆମ ଓଡ଼ିଶାରେ ନାହିଁ ସେମିତି ସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ, ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରି କିଛି ନାହିଁ, ତେଣୁ ଲୋକାଲରେ ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟମେଣ୍ଟ ଯଦି ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରାଯାନ୍ତା ଯେ ତାପରେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରନ୍ତା ମାଇଗ୍ରେସନ ପାଇଁ, ସେ ଠିକ ଅଛି. Unless the state is that prepared to take exemplary measures like that establishing that different type of industries or employment scope, such controls are usually कौन हम ineffective, effective होबनी. In a number of contexts it has been found that expelled migrants soon return. ଯେମିତି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ହେଉଛି ଯେ ମାଇଗ୍ରେଣ୍ଟ ମାନେ କେମିତି ଭାବରେ ପଳେଇ ଆସୁଛନ୍ତି ଯୋଉ COVID-19 ପାଇଁ. In some of the socialist states, access to jobs, housing, food, ration and other states benefit have been tied to a specific location, effectively preventing migration by removing the incentive to work. So these are the important causes of migration or factors. Apart from all these, there are many different reasons that why do people migrate. These includes economic, ये जो factor छड़ा आवश्यक कौन? These includes economic, social, political or environmental. So far the economic migration is concerned, we can say moving to find work or follow a particular that career path. It is economic that migration. Similarly, social migration, that is moving somewhere for a better quality of life or to be closer to family or friends. Social migration. Okay, better quality of livelihood हेल्थिबो लाइफ जीवनटाକୁ ଅତି ସରସ ସୁନ୍ଦରରେ ମାନେ ଫ୍ୟାମିଲି ଫ୍ରେଣ୍ଡଙ୍କ ସହିତ କରାଯାଇ ପାରିବ, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ମାଇଗ୍ରେସନ ମଧ୍ୟ ହୋଇଥାଏ. ଏବଂ ତାପରେ political migration ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା. political migration ରେ କ'ଣ ନା moving to that escape political that persecution or war. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଯେତେବେଳେ war ହୁଏ ମଧ୍ୟ war ସମୟରେ ମଧ୍ୟ କିଛି ପଳେଇ ଆସନ୍ତି ସେ ମାଇଗ୍ରେଟ୍ ହେଇକି. ଏବଂ political so they are also exploited, political exploitation time of the migration is that. Next, environmental migration, that is the causes of migration includes natural disasters such as that flooding or flooding or disease, natural disease. So the causes of migration includes that disaster which come under the environmental migration. So these are the the other factors. So some people choose to migrate. Those who moves to other country to enhance their career opportunities. Some people are forced to migrate. Someone who moves due to war or famine. କିଛି ଲୋକ ନିଜର ଇକୋନୋମିକ କ୍ୟାରିୟର ବନେଇବା ପାଇଁ ସୁଯୋଗ ପାଇ ପଳେଇଯାନ୍ତି, ଆଉ କିଛି କୌଣସି ମାନେ ଦୁର୍ଭିକ୍ଷ ହଉ ବା ଯୁଦ୍ଧ ହେଲା ଏ ସମୟରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର ହେଇଯାଏ। ନେକ୍ସଟ, in this regard, the how ଆଉ ଥରେ ମୁଁ କହିବି ଯୋଉ ଏହା ମଧ୍ୟ push and pull factor ସହିତ related ଏବଂ କାହିଁକି push and pull factor ଏଠି related and why people live an area. So these includes କାହିଁକି ଜଣେ ଲୋକ ଗୋଟେ ନିଜ ଏରିଆକୁ ସିଏ ଛାଡ଼ି ଦଉଛି ବା ସେଠି ସ୍ଥାନାନ୍ତର କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଛି. So you see the in this matter the push factor are the lack of service. ଏଠି ଚାକିରି ନାହିଁ, ନିଜ ପୋଷି ହେବା ପାଇଁ ନାହିଁ, ମାନେ ଆତ୍ମନିର୍ଭର ହେବା ପାଇଁ ସୁଯୋଗ ନାହିଁ, lack of safety, high crime, crop failure, ଚାଷ କଲା crop failure ହେଲା, drought, then flooding, poverty and war. So these are the that push factors which compel an individual to migrate from one place to another place. Follow. Next, the pull factors are also the reasons why people move to a particular area. जे pull factor ମଧ୍ୟ କେତେକ अंशରେ କାରଣ ଯେ କାରଣ ଗୋଟେ ଏରିଆରୁ କାହିଁକି ଲୋକମାନେ ପଳି ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି. So they includes the high employment, more wealth, better services, the good climate. ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରୁ ଅନେକ ରିଲେଟିଭ କିମ୍ବା ଇଏ ଥିବେ ଯେ ବାଙ୍ଗାଲୋରଟାକୁ ଭାରି ପସନ୍ଦ କରନ୍ତି, ଗୁଡ୍ କ୍ଲାଇମେଟ୍. So regarding the safer or less crime ଯୋଉ ଏରିଆରେ, ପଲିଟିକାଲ ଷ୍ଟାବିଲିଟି ଯୋଉଠି ଅଛି, more fertile land ଯୋଉଠି ସେଠି ମଧ୍ୟ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର ହେଇଯାଉଛନ୍ତି, lower risk from natural hazards. So these are the pull factors which also attract to the people to migrate from their native land to the other areas. Migration usually happens is a result of a combination of those push and pull. Next, the economic consequences of migration. In a nutshell, I will say the migration invite three economic consequences as the impact of immigrants on the economy go beyond the direct impacts on the jobs and wages of natives, just as the economic impacts of the trade are not only about to reduce prices for consumers for cheap imports, they also include increased competition, technology transfer, the development of multinational supply that change. So these are the economic consequences due to migration. Then this was the migration, and what was the internal migration and its causes, the push and the pull factors, and different reasons why people migrate from one place to another place. Next, we have to see in case of India, the internal migration in India. Factors for internal migration includes many ways, but who are known as the internal migration, that migrants who move within the boundaries of their own country are known as internal migrants. ଗୋଟେ ଦେଶ ଭିତରେ ଯେ ଦେଶର ସୀମା ଭିତରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ଲେସରୁ ଅନ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ଲେସକୁ ଗୋଟେ ସ୍ଥାନାନ୍ତର ହୁଏ, ପ୍ରବାସନ ସେ ହୁଏ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଏଟାକୁ କୁହାଯାଏ ଆନ୍ତଃପ୍ରବାସନ. There are four broad streams of internal migration, such as rural to rural or within rural areas. Say rural area ରୁ rural area କୁ transfer ହବା. Next, urban to urban or within urban areas. from rural to urban areas, and from the urban areas to rural areas. So these are the four that streams by which the migration migration happened. And next, these categories, of course, encompass interstate, intrastate, and international migration. The 1991 census analyzed the regions of migration under the categories of employment, education, business, marriage, family, relocation, natural calamities, and others. Besides, cause of internal migration in India includes এটা 1991 সেন্সাস অনুসারে আমি পहिले এই কারণ পাই কিন্তু there are that other causes internal migration by भारत वर्षरे वर्तमान जहाँ देखा जाउची जे जो कथा हम पहिले चारटा स्ट्रीम रूरल अर्बन that urban rural urban urban ମଧ୍ୟ rural ये होची केवल भाबरे तेणु टू अर्बानाइजेशन अब देखिए अर्बानाइजेशन ପାଇଁ ସହରୀକରଣ ପାଇଁ କେମିତି ଭାବରେ ये होची an increase in that demand for labor in urban areas and better wages that increase migration. That means the pull factors of better job facilities, good salary, medical and educational facilities are attracting to the rural people to make the urban cities. To move the urban cities. Similarly, the push factors of no job facilities, low salary, less income, drought, less medical facilities, educational facility compel people towards urban areas. Hello. So these are the reason why people move towards the urban areas. Similarly, another that fact is that marriage in internal migration in India. Marriage is an important social factor for migration from one rural area to another rural area or urban area, especially in case of females. But a rural na female, but urban area यदि marriage कला, से सर्टिफिकेट पढ़े आसले, एटी तार स्थानांतर है. तेणु marriage मध्य भारत वर्षर गोटे फैक्टर एवं वर्तमान देखा जाउची जे राजस्थान रो जो सेठी गाल संख्या कम बोली सेठी अन्य स्टेट विशेष करी ओडिशा कथा कहबा ओडिशा रो जो जो छुआ माने सेठी मैरिज करि दिया जाउची मैरिज कला पर सेठी की माइग्रेट ही पड़ी होची एवं एटा विशेष करी वुमेन मान के पई होची. नेक्स्ट जे एम्प्लॉयमेंट पई मध्य भारत वर्ष माइग्रेशन सर्च फॉर बेटर एम्प्लॉयमेंट इन इंडस्ट्रीज ओडिशा रे नाइ वर्तमान सब जो गुजरात अहमदाबाद मुंबई चेन्नई एथिरु सब लोक माने जो हेटी मैक्सिमम इंडस्ट्री अछि सेठी ओडिशा रो लोक माने केबोली भाबे जाईथिले एवं आमे तार ज्वलंत उदाहरण देखुचंती ए जो नेक्स्ट स्टेप रे कहिबी आई विल ब्रॉट दिस brought your notice regarding the how the migrant workers are coming and that employment that the search for better employment in industries, trade, transport and services result in rural to urban and urban to urban migration. Similarly, the education is the another that reason in the internal migration in India due to lack of educational facilities in rural areas. People migrate to the urban areas for better academic opportunities in the
ମୂଳଟା ସିନା ଦେଇଦେଲେ ହବ।
ମୂଳ ପୁଣି ହେଲେ ତ ଦବ ନା।
ସେଇଟା ଆମର ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ୍ କ'ଣ ହେଲା କି ଯେତେବେଳେ ମୁଁ ତୋଠୁ ଆଣିଛି ପଇସାଟା ତୁ ମାଗିବୁ ମୋ ପାଖରେ ପଇସା ନାହିଁ ମୁଁ ଅଲଗା ପଇସା ଆଣିବି ସେମିତି ଏଠି ଦେଲା ଡବଲ ହେଇଯିବ।
ସେମିତି ହେଇନି ସେ।
ଜିନିଷଟା ମ୍ୟାନେଜ୍ ହେଇଯାଉଛି ସବୁ ଜିନିଷଟା।
ତାପରେ ସେ ତାର ମାସ ମାସ ସୁଧଟା ମିଳୁଛି ନା ସେ।
हेलो सर, हेलो सर, ପିଲାମାନେ ଟିକେ ଅପେକ୍ଷା କର, କ'ଣ ଅସୁବିଧା ଅଛି ବୋଲେ। हेलो सर, okay, please wait, learners, please wait. I think there is some technical problem. Sir will come. Okay, let me contact him, so please wait.
ଶୁଭା ଯାଉଛି? ହ୍ୟାଲୋ।
Yes sir. Soumya, who is Soumya? Mute your audio.
ओके मेन पॉइंट गुड़ाक पे जानी पारना
टिके रिपीट कर
सॉरी
सर टिके रिपीट कर पिला को 5 मिनिट ले कटलेन तो हेलो हेलो सर भॉइस आसुनी हेलो हेलो सौ सौम्य शुभम महापात्र इज प्रेजेंटिंग हु इज सौम्य
ओहो
शुभम महापात्र
ना 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 से लैपटॉप रे आज करूची तो से पे
हाँ हाँ
से पुओ लैपटॉप टा तो
ओ
हाँ हाँ
ठीक है हाँ ताले
पुओ
देखो तो
लैपटॉप
ये देखो मारा म्यूट कर दउची
ओहो
हाँ हौ ताले मु
अच्छा
ठीक
अच्छा
है जान मानली मैं
ओहो
हौ
आपण बोधे म्यूट करदेले सीत पे यार ओहो
हाँ मु आगे म्यूट कर देली मु
ना ना आज आज से आसी पहुंची तो मुना तो
हाँ
लैपटॉप टा रे करनी टिके देखियो टिके स्क्रीन टा
हाँ हाँ
पिला मन देखि पारे भल भाबरे मु सीत पे ही करछि
हाँ
हां
नहीं ठीक है करो तो जान लूँ आगो जान देल ना
आज से सेही पे बोधे आपण बोधे मारी देछन सेत पानी बंद ही छो
हाँ
से जो 5 मिनिट
मुझे आउट करे बाहर
ओहो
फिर ना दिखे
ओहो ओके ओके
हाँ ठीक है ना यू कैन कंटिन्यू
Hmm. So, just I was discussing about the internal migration, and it's a four stream how the people that migrate from rural to rural within rural areas, urban to urban within urban areas, from rural to urban areas, from urban to urban areas to rural area. So these are the four stream of that internal migration in India. So categorically, we will see. Apart from these, that these categories, of course, encompass the interstate and intrastate and international migration. The 1991 census analyzed. Hello, my dear student. It is audible. Hello. Hello, sir. Hello.
yes sir audible
पिला सुबुच की पिला माने
हाँ
अच्छा
सुबह
अच्छा
जी
हाँ सर
कहूँ
ठीक
तो
है ठीक है
ओके
ठीक है
सर
the the 1991 census analyzed the regions of migration under the categories of that employment, education, business, marriage, family, relocation, natural calamities and others. ଏଗୁଡାକ 1991 ସେନ୍ସସ୍ ଅନୁସାରେ ଥିଲା ଯେ ଏଇ ସବୁ ରିଜିନ୍ ପାଇଁ ମାଇଗ୍ରେସନ ହଉଥିଲା. Besides, the cause of international migration in India includes the urbanization, marriage, employment, education, lack of security, environmental and disaster induced factors. So we will narrate the how urbanization ପାଇଁ କାହିଁକି migration ହଉଛି. An increase in demand for labor in urban areas and better wages increase migration. ଅଧିକ wages ପାଇଲେ ଗାଁରେ କାମ ଧନ୍ଦା ମିଳିଲାନି ସେଠି ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟ୍ରିରେ କାମ ଧନ୍ଦା ମିଳିଲା ଅଧିକ ପଇସା ମିଳିଲା ତେଣୁ ଗାଁ ଲୋକମାନେ ସହରକୁ ଚାଲିଲେ. That means the pull factors ଏଠି ଆଇଲା କଣ ନା pull factor ଆକର୍ଷଣ କଲା ଯେ ସହରୀକରଣର जो काम धंदा जो रोजगार एते परिमाणरे ग्रामांचल लोकमानंकु आकर्षित कला सेमाने कोन कले चालिले माइग्रेट हेले. सो पुल फैक्टर्स ऑफ बेटर जॉब कोन पाई गले ना बेटर जॉब फैसिलिटीज गुड सैलरी मेडिकल एजुकेशनल फैसिलिटीज आर अट्रैक्टिंग द रूरल पीपल टू मूव द अर्बन सिटीज. सिमिलरली पुश फैक्टर मते काई के पुश फैक्टर हैला ना push factor of no job facilities in the rural areas, low salary in the rural areas, less income in the rural areas, drought or the less medical facility and educational facility for their that children and the mothers compel people towards urban areas. तेणु भारत रे जो urbanization ପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ migration ବହୁତ ରିଜନ୍. Marriage by कहली the marriage is an that important source social factor for migration from one rural area to another rural or urban area, especially in case of females. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ରୁରାଲ ଏରିଆ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ରୁରାଲ ଏରିଆକୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସୁଛି ମାନେ କନ୍ୟାଟି ସେଠି ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର ହେଲା ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ଲେସ୍ ଟୁ ଆନାଦର ଗୋଟେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ କୁ ଯାଉଛି বা ଗୋଟେ ରୁରାଲ ଏରିଆରୁ ଅର୍ବାନ ଏରିଆ ଯାଉଛି ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମଧ୍ୟ ମାଇଗ୍ରେସନ ହୁଏ। ନେକ୍ସଟ ଦି ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟମେଣ୍ଟ ଏ ସାର୍ଚ୍ଚ ଫର ବେଟର ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟମେଣ୍ଟ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଦେଖାଯାଉଛି କଣ ନା ଇଏ ଚାକିରି ପୋଷଉନି ବେଟର ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟମେଣ୍ଟ ପାଇଁ ଆମେ ପଳେଇବା ଯେ ପିଲାମାନେ ପାସ୍ କଲେ ଯେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯୋଉ କମ୍ପ୍ୟୁଟର ଇଞ୍ଜିନିୟର ସଫ୍ଟୱେୟାର ଇଞ୍ଜିନିୟର ସେ ପଳେଇବେ ଆବ୍ରୋଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜ। ସିମିଲାରଲି ରୁରାଲ ଏରିଆରେ ପିଲାମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଯୋଉ କଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ନା କିଛି ଲୋକ ସାର୍ଚ୍ଚ ଫର ବେଟର ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟମେଣ୍ଟ ଇନ୍ ଇଣ୍ଡଷ୍ଟ୍ରିଜ trade, transport, and services results in rural to urban and urban to urban migration. Similarly, education due to lack of educational facilities in the rural areas, people migrate to the urban areas for better academic opportunities. ଏଇଠି ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ମୁଁ କହିବି ଯେ maximum students they are moving towards the Rajasthan quota for better coaching regarding the medical coaching or the engineering. So they feel that the better that coaching is there. So maximum that students from different angles of India they are migrating towards the Rajasthan quota. So so far the in the 2011 census it has been that recorded about 1.77% people migrated for education. 2011 census coach. Next, the lack of security. Sometimes security also compels to the people to migrate. The political that disturbances and inter-ethnic conflict is also the reason for internal migration. गोटे एरिया रे जति कोनोसी धार्मिक एवं सांस्कृतिक दृष्टिकोण रे गंडगोल लागिला एवं किछि गोटे आसिला जे इनसिक्योर फील करे लोक माने मध्ये माइग्रेट करन दैट द एनवायरमेंटल एंड आल्सो डिजास्टर इंड्यूसेस द फैक्टर so this factor forced the people to move from rural to urban areas due to that gradual deterioration of changing environmental condition जेतेबेले जो परिवेशिक जो अधिकतम जेतेबेले हुए जेतेबेले डिग्रेडेशन हुए सेतेबेले एवं देयर कैन आल्सो बी फोर्स्ड डिस्प्लेसमेंट ड्यू टू रीजन सच एज डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट किछि हला जे परिवेश पे एवं क्लाइमेट चेंज पे एवं आउ मध्ये किछि रीजन अछि जेतेबेले बड़ बड़ प्रोजेक्ट करा जाय सेतेबेले मध्ये जे लोक मानको जेतेबेले डिस्प्लेसमेंट करा जाय सेतेबेले मध्ये माइग्रेट लोक माने हेथन so many that reasons are there in Odisha we might have that known that people have been that displaced in the Sambalpur that Tapati Vidyut Kendra capacity the hydroelectricity next that Nalco and the railway line in different that cities migrate. Now we will discuss the challenges faced by the internal migrants. What are the challenges? कौन सी असुविधार सम्मुखीन होचंती डॉक्यूमेंटेशन एंड आइडेंटिटी इन न्यू प्लेस गोटे जगह को जाय कि न्यू डॉक्यूमेंट से माने पाइबेनी केही ताको साहाय्य करिबेनी इबेनी कि बैंक अकाउंट से खोली परिबेनी हाउसिंग घर भड़ा ताको ठीक भाव रे मिलिबेनी जो हैरान होंती लिमिटेड एक्सेस टू फॉर्मल फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज व्हिच अनेबल टू ओपन ए बैंक अकाउंट the financial service ताको मध्ये मिलिबोनी केन केही ताको साहाय्य करंती नाही जे बैंक अकाउंट को खोलिबा पाई एवं पॉलिटिकल एक्सक्लूजन अनेबल टू दैट कास्ट देयर वोट एवं पॉलिटिकल दैट एक्सक्लूजन मध्ये सब करा जे समान सोसाइटी वोट मध्ये देई पानते एंड राम्पांट एक्सप्लॉइटेशन बाय द कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स एंड द मिडलमैन जो लोक माने एटू गाउतनी माइग्रेट हेकी से गुजरात हो कि बॉम्बे हो कोट काम करिया पे से माने सीधा सड़क कंपनी रे जॉइन करि पाना थ्रू कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स और मिडलमैन सो दे आर द रूट कॉज they are extracting money from the migrants interstate migrant workmen act जो दिपई व्यवस्था कराई छै कोन ना interstate migrant workmen act 1979 ले यदि कोन कोइ छै act ना it is that these are not included in your course, but it is important. It is that enacted to regulate the conditions of services of interstate laborers in Indian labor law. Second, the act, the purpose is to protect workers whose services are recognized. That requisition, the whose services are requisition outside their native states in India. Reclusion ले जो माने जाइछन्ति सेमानकर जो किमिति वर्क टा प्रोटेक्ट करा देबो व्यवस्था करा दैछि एवं ए जो 1979 एक्ट जो रहिछि माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स बाइ so there are provision for rights of that in that interstate workers, that is the equal wages. कौन provision अछि ना equal wages for the similar work, provide displacement allowances, that termination of employment for contract period, right to lodge complaint with the authorities. Next, the internal that migrant statistics, census 2001 and 2011. So I will bring the notice of all the students that this is the statistics of, we'll see the internal migrant statistics, census 2001 and 2011. The number of internal migrants in India was 450 million as per the most recent 2011 census. This is an increase of 45% over the 309 million that record in 2001. Internal migrants that as a percentage of population increased from 30% in 2001 to 37% in 2011. Another record is the bulk of the movement, that is 62%, is within the same district. Same district which is 32%. Another, that's 26% is between district within the same state. Within the district, the same state. So सही राज्यर जो सही district. Only 12% of movement is interstate. Interstate, another is the interstate migrants represents only 4% of the population in India as per 2011 census report. So this is the statistics from 2001 census to 2011. Now I will bring you to the notice of the student regarding the situation of the migrants, internal migrants due to COVID crisis and internal migrants. According to World Bank report, hello, sir, hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
It is audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Actually, audible. It is okay.
So, my dear student, please give attention this particular the data, the COVID crisis and also internal migrants. According to World Bank report, COVID-19 crisis, that is nationwide lockdown in India due to COVID-19 has impacted nearly 40 million internal migrants. Around 60,000 moved from the urban centers to the rural areas of origin in the span of few days. They are vulnerable to the loss of employment and wages during an economic crisis. That thousands of them, thousands of them without any means of transport that are left to their villages, back on foot, dying of starvation and also road accident. This is the situation of the internal migrants, the interstate that migrants. Though in May 1st, 2020, the central government introduced the special Shramik trains to take urban migrants back to their villages. This special train brought little relief to urban migrants. This is the situation of the internal migrants within the state. So finally, these are the concluding points of migration and development. So far the above discussion is concerned. However, the above fact and the findings regarding the migration and development, it can be concluded that the government policies need to create a more viable balance between rural and urban opportunities. Policymakers should be aware of the impact of the specific economic policies on population shifts, leaving the problem of urbanization to market forces is not a likely better solution. This topic also discuss how gap in both the data on migration and understanding of the role of migration in livelihood, strategies, and economic growth in India have led to inaccurate policy prescriptions and a lack of a political commitment to improving the living and working conditions of migrants. So this was the Unit 22, Migration and Development. So just I took the more time for this unity because it was an important topic and how and why the government should take step regarding this and how the migration will be stopped, inter-migration, and how the state will give the employment opportunity to all the people so that the development can be possible. So anyway, and Unit 23 will discuss the environment and sustainable development. So environment is very necessary. What type of environment a human being is needed? That is the healthy environment for our sustainability. Without safe and a healthy environment, we cannot live. So how the people will ever regarding this healthy environment and what is the role of the individual and also what are the role of the human beings in this concern. So we will discuss in this unit that this topic discuss the evolution of the concept of sustainable development and methods by which it is measured. Initially, the idea of industrial development was aggressively propagated to root out all the evil of the society. Industrialization by industrial development करी समाज रे जेते सब मंद व्यवस्था अछि हम तको चिंता करितले जे सब दूरे देबा. But the methods and the policies adopted for it turn out to be wasteful and threatening to the very existence of mankind. एमिति परिस्थिति हला इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट नारे आमे कोन कले परिवेश को ध्वंस कले जोटा कि मानवर जो स्थिति को ये विपद सृष्टि कला. मानवर जो स्थिति प्रगति पे मध्य विपद सृष्टि कला. With the rising of this that disaster, the world community come together to discuss and formulate several action plans to mitigate this problem. यह एभली एक जो विपर्जय को सामना करिया पे सारा विश्वर समुदाय एक होइचंती जे आमे हाउ ए जो डिजास्टर टाको केमिति भाबरे आमे मिटिगेट करिबा समाधान करिबा एवं ए प्रॉब्लम को केमिति समाधान करिबा नाउ इन मॉडर्न era the concept of sustainable development has become integrated in the policies of every that area of development as the very human existence depends on it. ତେଣୁ ସଷ୍ଟେନେବଲ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ ଯାହାକୁ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ କୁହାଯାଏ ନିରନ୍ତର ବିକାଶ ଧାରା କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ରହିଛି ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପିଢ଼ି କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ये आर्थ रे बंचिकी रहिबे सेमानक पय ଆମେ कोन करि परिबा कोन करिबा उचित एवं मानवर स्थिति किभଳି भाबर माने रहिबो एवं ए स्थिति रहिया पय हेले निरंतर विकास धारा रहिबा दरकार so this unit specifically aware the student with the concept of sustainable development which means the development where the natural resources and environment are not depleted but are sustained. Again, I am repeating the same thing that the concept of sustainable development, which means the development where the natural resources and environment are not depleted but are sustained. Without sustainability, the development that passes a threat to human life in terms of environment degradation, food crisis, hunger, etc. Sustainable development is essential for protecting environment, maintaining justice, and the future of mankind. So, dear student, as per the courses that there is the contextualizing development is a term that the sub points in the sustainable development. Just in this regard, I would say the development as a concept and aspect of a state policy is a full good effect on the modern mind. This idea of development is thought to be the living spirit behind every human success in the field of industry, agriculture, transport and communication, space, health, hygienic, culture and entertainment. Along with these, it also infuses a sense of a triumph in controlling and undertaking near complete transformation of society and environment in shortest possible time. It is perhaps the only concept that has brought to the totality of both environment and society within the folds of one single umbrella. ये जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट तो डेवलपमेंट एमती एक जो कॉन्सेप्ट बा धारणा जहाँ कौन करछि ना परिवेश एवं समाज को गोटे छता तले आनिक रखिबा पई कौन करछि ना चेष्टा करछि so now will that move towards the concept of a sustainable development. We'll understand the term. The sustainable development has been defined in many ways. But the origin of the concept is created to that Brundtland Commission report prepared under the auspices of the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development. The sustainable development, according to this report, that Brundtland Commission report, what is the sustainable development means? Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of a future generation to meet their own needs. Improved living standard for all, better protected and managed ecosystem, and a safer, more prosperous future. So, so this is the sustainable development. But this is sustainable development hmm, uh, may be defined in different ways. Just I gave you the shortest that definition, but the so far as the convergent view are the main. There is unanimity in opinions among the scholars about the material achievement that human beings have made in the last 3 centuries. Among these, the achievement of the 20th century are spectacular. But this has been possible at a huge social and environmental costs. At the other extreme, where those that advocate the philosophy of being, the having, according to the advocates of this philosophy, the technological revolution, particularly in the last 3 centuries, have endured the modern human with all the possible comfort and possibilities. Today, we are more satisfied, confident, and also enjoy greater freedom than our ancestors did 300 years ago. Modern human has succeeded in mastering both time and space with every incremental doses of new technology. Technology has a transformed our being. The new being is based on more choices and thus more freedom. So there are many other views also in between these two extremes. Among the pioneers that made sincere and serious attempt in this direction were a group of scholars of Rome in 1972. This was popularly known as the Club of Rome. Their views were later on published in book by Meadows entitled and Limits to Go. These scholars have warned about the limits of an ongoing pattern of development, and if the pattern of present limitless growth continues, then there are likely to be problems of its sustainability. They studied the fundamental limit to growth in global population, agriculture, resource, use and industry, and showed is how these factors interact with each other and how they extract pressure on the limited resource base of our planet. The report concluded that even under the most optimistic assumption about the blessing of advanced technology, the world is incapable of supporting and sustaining the present rates of economy and population growth on the one hand, and resource depletion and ecological crisis on the other hand. So these are the two that important crises. They further warned that if the present trend of consumptions continues, ଯୋଉଭଳି ପରିମାଣରେ ଆମେ ତେଲ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରୁଛନ୍ତି, କୋଇଲା ବ୍ୟବହାର କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ଯୋଉଟାକ non renewable resources, and continues, the resources on our planet would not last beyond a few decades from now. ଯଦି ଅବାରିତ ଧାରାରେ ଏଇଭଳି ବ୍ୟବହାର କରାଯାଏ ତାହେଲେ କିଛି ଦଶନ୍ଧି ଭିତରେ ସରିଯିବ ଆମର resources. Therefore, they also suggest some way out of the impeding impasse, which according to them lies in tackling all the problems together instead of adopting a piecemeal approach. Subsequently, United Nations Conference on the theme of environment and development held at Stockholm in the same year also expressed the serious concerns about the patterns of ongoing development. The conference made a specific that the mention of the patterns of the way the ongoing development has placed tremendous stress on our environment on the one hand and the widened the gap between the developed and the developing countries on the other. So, my dear student, you see, if the if will not sustain the resources, then how the future generation will continue, how the future generation will sustain or exist. So now we'll see the principle of a sustainable development. Before we go to analyze the principle of sustainable development, we should clear about what is sustainable development is. Sustainable development is defined as an approach to developing or growing by using resources in a way that allows for them to renew or continue to exist for others. जो सो रिसोर्सेस अच्छी ताको आम एमती भाव में मेंटेन करवा जमी फ्यूचर जनरेशन सेटा रहिबो यूजिंग रिसाइकल दैट मटेरियल्स और रिन्यूएबल रिसोर्सेस व्हेन बिल्डिंग इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट जमी बिल्डिंग टाको प्रत्येक वर्ष कि 3 वर्ष थरे कि 5 वर्ष थरे हम कलर कर कहीं तार ड्यूरेबिलिटी तार सस्टेनेबिलिटी केमिति भाव रहिबो तम ठीक से भली जोडा रिन्यूएबल बा अल्टरनेटिव एनर्जी हमें देखिबा जेमति ताकू व्यवहार करी हमें जोडा को हाथ पांतर जोडा नाही जो सरी दिबार अछि ताकू कि बोल भाव बंचे रखे सो दैट द फ्यूचर जनरेशन will give us the thanks that my parents or my forefathers they have preserved something for us. There is a differences between sustainability and that sustainability development. Sustainability is a long-term goal, while sustainable development refers to the many process and path made to achieve it, like sustainable that agriculture and forestry, that production and consumption, good government, research and technology, transfer, education, etc. So this is somehow about the sustainability and sustainable and the regarding the more about the sustainable development concept. Next, we'll see the principles. So the principles are many. So there are more than 27 principles which has been included in the sustainable development as per the UNO guideline. But the that guiding principle of a sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of that future generation to meet their own needs. Sustainable development recognizes the interdependence of environment, environmental, social, and economic systems, and promotes equality and justice for people, empowerment, and a sense of global citizenship. While we cannot be sure what the future may bring, a preferable future is a more sustainable one. And friends, the following are some of the prominent principles of sustainable development. So where is I have indicate SD abbreviation, it means the sustainable development. So first I am discussing and pointing out the principles adopted in the sustainable development. It is as per the UN guideline. The human beings are number one. The human beings are at the center of concern of sustainable development. निरंतर विकास धारार प्रथम कथा हला जे हेउची मानव मानव को केंद्रीकरण करा जायछि हैना. नेक्स्ट the state has the sovereign rights to use their resource for development as per international law to control any damage to the environment. परिवेश को कौनसी आघात न करे, परिवेश को नष्ट न करे, किभଳି भाबरे अवेलेबल रिसोर्सेस उपयुक्त भाबरे जो लोकमानक उद्देश्य रे खर्च करा जाय पर एप्रोप्रिएट करा जाय पारिबो एटा राष्ट्र सार्वभौम क्षमता दिया ये होची सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट अनदर प्रिंसिपल. नेक्स्ट एनवायरनमेंट प्रोटेक्शन should constitute on that integral part of development process in order to achieve sustainable development. Environment next, eradication of what is an indispensable eradication of poverty. जो दारिद्रता ये मध्य होची कोन सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट रो in partnership to the health and integrity of earth. It's a it would cooperative basis रे उच्च करा दिवा दरकार ये पृथ्वी रो जो अच्छी इकोसिस्टम अच्छी जो परिवेश व्यवस्था जो अच्छी सेटा किबळ भाबरे संतुलित भाबरे तार समस्ते सब राष्ट्र गोटे cooperative way रे कार्य करिया दरकार. Environment should be the concern of everyone and issues related to it should be handled through the participation of concerned citizens. Environment should be the concern of everyone. इस परिवेशटा समस्तଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ जे इश्यू बा घटना जोतरे प्रत्येक व्यक्ति अंशग्रहण करवा उचित and also यह समस्तଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସବୁ नागरिक ପାଇଁ उत्तरदायी. Every state shall enact effective environmental legislation. It is also coming under SDE. But every state shall enact effective environmental legislation. Next, states shall formulate laws to punish those who are responsible for environmental pollution. Environment को जो मत करूचंती समा कठोर ପାଇଁ राष्ट्र sustainable development. Next, the national point of principle, the national authorities should work for internationalization of environmental costs as a part of the total production costs. Next, the sharing of information regarding environmental issues among the states shall be the basis of building goodwill and health among the nations. राष्ट्र राष्ट्र मध्य यदि सुसंपर्क न रहिबो ताहले परिवेश होची नष्ट हबो. वर्तमान जहा अवस्था हेची एवं चाइना जो भली भाबरे व्यवस्था सृष्टि करची एथुर समस्त बुझी परथबो जे कि भली भाबरे जे एनवायरमेंटल इश्यूटा वर्तमान कि भली भाबरे worst haba ପାଇଁ ଯାଉଛି। Right to protect one's identity should be the basis of sustainable development. Right to protect one's identity should be the basis of sustainable development. In मध्य निरंतर विकास next, peace, development, and environmental protection are interdependent and indivisible. यहाँ को हमें अलगा करी होगा नहीं। कोटा शांति विकास एवं परिवेशर सुरक्षा ये गुड़ा सब पारस्परिक बुझ ना इंटरडिपेंडेंट अंतर निर्भरशील एक केबे हमें अलगा करिबा नहीं। आउट प्रिंसिपल होची कोन द स्टेट शैल रिजॉल्व all their environmental disputes through peaceful means. Environmental जो इशू दास को आसुची से वाटर पाई हो एयर पाई हो या फॉरेस्ट पाई हो या लैंड पाई हो सो तक पीसफुल मीन्स से समाधान कर अदर कर दी वायलेंस दैट मेथड will that create the hindrances. Finally, it appeals every individual. Sustainable development appeals every individual and check to cooperate and develop partnership based on good faith in order to achieve sustainable development. निरंतर विकास धारा पाई समस्ते इंडिविजुअल क्षेत्र रो राष्ट्र पर्यंत समस्त गुटे को पार्टनर है कि काम करबा। This was the one of the that sincere efforts on the part of the world community to demarcate the development agenda for the 21st century. It was a bold decision in certain respects, as it is succeeded in foregoing unanimity among the highly heterogeneous community of nations. Then we will see, my dear student, some indicators of sustainable development regarding the social indicators, environmental indicators, economic indicators, institutional indicators. So which includes particularly the issues, the other that continued issue was the indicator of a framework has been that showed in the your study material that social, that equality, sub theme tar rehla poverty, indicator rehla percent of a population living below poverty line. That nutrition status, morality, sanitation, drinking water, health, delivery. These are the indicators of sustainable development in the social arena, and the education, housing, security, population, it is also included in the indicator of that social. Then environmental indicators, themes includes atmosphere, land, oceans, sea, coasts, fresh water. These are the indicators comes under the environmental, and the sub themes is the climate change, ozone layer depletion, air quality, agriculture, forests, that desertification, urbanization, coastal zone, fisheries, water quantity, water quality, ecosystem, species. So these are the sub themes. ये जो विषय गुड़ी को ऊपर जो इंडिकेटर गुड़ाक रोचे सपोज एयर क्वालिटी माने ambient concentration of air pollutants in urban areas तो सेटा किमिति भाबरे एयर पोल्यूटेंट न हो से कथा देखा जिबा दरकार नहले सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट हे करिवो नै कंजप्शन ऑफ ओजोन डिप्लीशन सब्सटेंसेस ड्यू टू मैक्सिमम दैट कार्बन किमिति ओजोन लेयर डिप्लीशन होछि these are the some indicators so these indicator should be given that priority that how that some change can be taking place. Yes. Hello. 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 It is audible. Hello.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Some students. No. Some students they have opened their audio video.
Upasana.
Upasana
Video. Upasana off your video. Upasana. Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
The another, this is the environmental indicator. Similarly, the economic indicator, it also includes the economic that structure, the consumption and production that patterns, and these themes are the particularly indicators is GDP per capita, investment share in GDP, balance of trade in goods and services, debt to GNP ratio. So these are the indicators in economic field. That consumption, it is also intensity of that material use, annual energy consumption per capita, share of consumption of that renewable energy resources. So it will come under the economic indicator. Similarly, institutional indicator. So of sustainable development, the institutional framework, that is strategic implementation of sustainable development, as if national sustainable development strategy. Similarly, the institutional capacity, suppose a theme of that institutional indicator, that is information access, number of internet subscribers for that 1000 inhabitants. Similarly, communication infrastructure, it is also the indicator of institutional. So that is indicator is, it is the something, indicator is main telephone lines for 1000 inhabitants. Disaster preparedness and also response, it is also they are coming under the themes, the sub-themes of institutional indicator. The indicator is economic and human loss due to natural disaster. So these are the indicators of sustainable development. A critical look at all these approaches therefore suggests instead of one approach, we should talk of the set of approaches because of the technology has undergone change over generation. Thus, considering all these the points, the list of indicators suggested by United Nations Economic and Social Commission appear to be more acceptable than any other approach. So, my dear student, the perspective of the development that countries worldwide, the developed countries approach sustainable development from the point of view of restoring the pollution-free environment for healthy living. The perspective of developing world, so I will say in a very short point that there is an apprehension among the developing countries that in the name of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, The world capitalism is out to reconstruct the colonies, the environment and indigenous communities inhabiting the post-colonial countries are also under the threat in the new that patent regime for want of adequate technology available with them. So the question of environment and sustainable development in case of the developing countries is intricately related to retaining their freedom, identity, and existence. However, so from the above discussion, it can be concluded that sustainable development has become an important issue for democracy and government, as it is linked with the survival of human beings, their environment and civilization, and as it is linked with the survival of human beings, their environment and civilization. In the name of development, there are large number deforestation, which thinning down of life, saving ozone layer. और विकास नार जो आमे सब डिफरेस्टेशन करछन्ती जंगल को नष्ट करछन्ती जहा द्वारा कोन होची ना ओजोन डिप्लीशन होची लॉस ऑफ बायोडायवर्सिटी wastes are becoming that unmanageable day by day. Similarly, human actions have caused poisoning of life supporting systems of our environment. That is soil, water, and organism. ये सब को मनुष्य ही नष्ट करते हैं. Therefore, sustainable development, if attended properly, holds the key to development with the social justice and environmental conservation. This is also the key to shape future for the mankind. So this was the topic of that economic reform, that is the sustainable development, environment and sustainable development. Next, so we will touch in the limited time the unit 24, that is economic reformation and globalization. Okay. Unit 24. The topic is economic reformation and globalization. So, within the time limit, so I will finish this particular topic. The topic economic reformation and globalization deals with the relationship between economic reforms and globalization in democracy and development. It also discusses the theoretical debates about market and government policies. It also reflects upon the development planning in India, the physical crisis of 1991 and its consequences. So this is the economic reformation and globalization. Globalization ପରେ कौन ହେଇଛି, liberalization ଆସିଲା ପରେ कौन development ହେଇଛି, liberalization ପୂର୍ବରୁ कौन ଥିଲା economy କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ कौन reformation India ରେ ହେଇଛି. So this unit covers some important points relating to that economic reforms and globalization. These are theoretical debates about the use of market or planning and government control, development planning in India, trade policy in India before 1991, 1991 crisis, liberalization and its economic consequences, and liberalization and democracy. So we will follow one after another this topic, that economic and reforms. So the theoretical debates is a long process. So we will just discuss in a shortest way the what is the theoretical debates about use of a market or planning. So theoretically, the issue of that whether policymaker should depend on the market or there should be planning and government intervention. Initially, the opinion seemed to be that a planned economy would perform better than a market economy. But development in economic theory and the experience of the socialist economy resulted in a radical change in this view, and policymakers came to that rely more on market. So this is the theoretical that debate in the shortest that lines. To certain extent, the economists created their own problems, as we have seen that planned economy can overcome the problems of inappropriate levels of investment and unsatisfactory income distribution that they plague a market economy. But unfortunately, for reasons not entirely clear, no socialist economy used to the market. Instead, they relied on quantitative instruction from planning broad to various agents. For example, the state can supply food to all through government source, or can give everyone an income and let them buy what foods they want. In the latter case, the government uses the market to provide everyone with adequate nutrition. In the that former case, the government would have to find out what foods each one liked or risk that the food supplied may not be eaten. So the market should be looked as one of many instruments that the government can use to achieve its objectives. So now we'll see the development planning in India. What was the development planning in India? It covers the Indian planning, its rationale and achievements. Indian planning before 1991 was the nature of directive planning and averse to the role of market mechanism. As far as resource allocation in the governmental sector was concerned, the government did not rely on the market but gave directions so that resource could be that utilized by all states efficiently. Development planning means a development strategy taking into consideration limited resources to achieve long-term objective in the product. कम संबल भितर किभଳି ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ଦୀର୍ଘତମ जो उद्देश्य को साधन करि परिबा होची एटा होची हमर जो थिला voter planning. But the beginning of the 1990 saw a major change in the Indian economic policies. The balanced of a payment crisis led to the policy of economic liberalization of the Indian economy. A higher growth rate was needed that required required policy of import that substituting industrialization that complements the development policies seem to be a viable option adopted by many developing countries in the early years. But with the export, amount of export earning relatively low than its import payments, the developing countries had to adjust their economic policies accordingly. The policy makers of India realized the disadvantages of trade restrictions. Consequently, the economy was opened up, enabling the inflow of foreign capital and the industrial investment. This economic and the development, economic reformation and the globalization जो टॉपिक रहे देखते हैं भारत वर्ष रे इंपोर्ट को गुरुत्व दिया होता केवल जो जहाँ देश रे अच्छी एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर अन्य उपरे गुरुत्व दिया जाता जहाँ फल डेवलपमेंट बेसी ही पारला नहीं इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस देखा गला एवं से इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस को किभली भाव समाधान कारण जे 1991 पूर्व जो ट्रेड पॉलिसी थिला से ट्रेड पॉलिसी फेल्योर होता ना प्रायर टू द 1991 जो ट्रेड पॉलिसी थिला इट वाज फेल्योर बिकॉज़ द economic liberalization India was a closed economy due to the average tariff exceeding 200% and the extensive quantitative restriction on imports. Foreign investment was strictly restricted. Foreign investment को restriction करते जो पे कि economic development हो नथिला multinational corporation रो चांस नथिला कि अन्य स्टेट रे इन्वेस्टमेंट किछि नथिला foreign state रे so to only allow Indian ownership of a business. केवल Indian ownership of business को सुयोग दिया इतना एवं FDI की foreign investment को चांस दिया नथिला so throughout the period India continued with its that basic policy of ISI तामाने import substitution industries export होची आउ चांस ना One problem was that with government investment that diverted first to agriculture and then to oil exploration and refining. There was a squeeze on investment in the infrastructure sector, which had longer term consequences and an investment in manufacturing. So that greater reliance so that the greater reliance had to be placed on the private sector and emphasis shifted from basic industry to consumer industry. Basic industry to consumer industry. That adjustment were made to trade policy in the 70s and 80s to make imports on intermediate goods and components easier as a lack of these during the strict import control regime period had prevented better utilization of installed capacity. More intermediate imports allowed better utilization of installed capacity and also improved efficiency. So the trade policy in India before 1991 was so which was a failure policy. So after 1991, कौन हैला ये जो ये policy रे कौन हैला and 1991 crisis कौन 1991 रे जो संकट कौन देखाला for which the government of India invited liberalization and globalization to that develop the economic development. The crisis was caused by currency overvaluation, the current account deficit, and investor confidence that played significant role in the sharp exchange rate that depreciation. In 1991 and 92, it crossed 13%. The the GDP growth rate, which was 6.5% in 1989-91, 1989-90, it went down to 5.5% in 1991. So this was the crisis. The balance of payments crisis also affected the performance of industrial sector. The average industrial growth rate was 80% in the second half of 1980. So this was the 1991 that crisis. So in a due to the liberalization, when liberalization entered, or the government of India invited the liberalization during the 1991 when P.V. Narasimha was the Prime Minister and the Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister. So with much constraint they invited the liberalization and the free economy, free market, and they gave chances to invest the foreign money in their land, so that the India could able to develop its economy. So now just I will draw the 1991 crisis, something more data that 1991 crisis took the stance that trade restrictiveness was not an appropriate policy and that the economy should become more open. Also, industry regulation that had governed entry into the industry and also governed how much a company could produce had outlived their usefulness. So after 1991, liberalization came and democracy and development. How it has been that turned into a new set. The liberalization has, however, generated a vigorous debate about the implication for poverty reduction, empowerment, democracy. The objective of Indian policy makers since the inception of planning was to achieve what is today called just growth. Namely, growth that reduces poverty lead to a more equal distribution of income and is accompanied by democracy. Democracy and a more egalitarian economic system were believed to be that connected. Political rights could not be that guaranteed without economic rights. It is sure. Economic rights consisted both of reducing poverty and reducing inequality. There seemed to be no contradiction between reduced poverty and reduced inequality. Ever since 1971, that Congress slogan was that Garib Hatao. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the public has been aware of the need to reduce poverty and income inequality. The Constitution had itself recognized this duty and handmade a provision for reservation to achieve a more just society. Once the notion of state action to help the disadvantaged was accepted, there was increasing number of claimants and various people formed groups to champion their cause more effectively. The scope of our reservation has been increased over the years and many programs established to improve both the conditions of the poor and to provide more power to them. Increasingly, resources have been diverted towards many explicit and implicit subsidies. One effect of these subsidies has been the increasing budget deficit of the central and the state government. ସବୁ ଯଦି ସବସିଡି ଆକାର ଦେଇଦେବେ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ବଜେଟ ଡେଫିସିଟ୍ ହେଉଛି. These deficits have left little scope for further employment in the public sector. Increasing public sector employment was one of the ways to bring disadvantages into the system. So this was the liberalization and democracy. Now we have to touch some extent the globalization. Unfortunately, there is an evidence that globalization trends to increase income inequality. How? Therefore, globalization brings to the fore a possible conflict between poverty reduction and reducing income inequality. A possible contradiction that had been ignored earlier in India. Globalization changes the role. Globalization changes the role of the state, though it does not necessarily lead to its reduction. Instead of the state being involved directly in production, the state has to provide both physical and human capital. It also has to act to draw the poor into the economic system and to improve their situation. So, moreover, the state has to act to regulate private enterprise. Instead of increasing the production, the state set up regulatory institution. So state set up regulation private enterprise. So they hope for more production. It is not clear that it would be any easier to protect regulatory agencies from political interference and thus leading towards inefficiency. So liberalization raises new questions about the role of the state and to achieve just. So anyway, the focus shifted to just growth, wherein an equal distribution of income is ensured in a democratic setup, thereby linking the political and economic rights. Though there have been claims about the advantages of the liberalization, the lack of government investment has led to an outdated infrastructure, thereby stagnating the growth. the elimination of restrictions failed. I'm just giving the concluding point. The elimination of restrictions failed to generate the corresponding benefits. The need of the hour is to make the most out of the opportunities provided by globalization, liberalization. The role of the state in this context is crucial. Is not only improving the existing situation, but also that what moves towards the inefficiency. Thus, the state can ensure positive outcome of the liberalization policies and achievement. Just so this was the economic reformation and the globalization. The economic the reformation the before 91 किभଳି थिला किभଳି भाबरे लिबरलाइजेशन एवं ग्लोबलाइजेशन आइला पर इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट किभଳି भाबरे जो हेछि भारत वर्ष में so that has been narrated in this way. So now the economic growth of India has been achieved due to liberalization and globalization. Thank you all that my dear student. So just I took 15 minutes more as the unit 1 that migration and development was important, and also another topic the environment and sustainable development. For the two topics, and in the end of the examination and government examination, you will get that important question from these two units. Then the economic reformation and the liberalization and globalization. You will get more question from the migration and development, and also the environment and the sustainable development. Thank you all. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for conducting
Sir.
a nice session.
Sir, thank you.
Dear learners, if you have any doubt, you can ask also.
Hello, sir.
Sir, hello.
Sir, what can you do as a citizen for development to be more sustainable?
Yes. Again.
What can we do as a
Hello.
citizen for development to be more
So
sustainable?
if we more sustainable. So if we that use the available resources in the proper way, in the limited resources in proper way, so we cannot if you will not that misuse the available resources, so which cannot be repaired again. That means the non-renewable resources. So that sustainable development can be possible. And if we will not pollute our water resources, air resources, and also the earth resources, then sustainable development can be possible. So each and every individual should be a partner, co-partner for the sustainable development. If you will sustain, you have to sacrifice something for the earth. Follow?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anybody? Okay, sir.
Any more question if you have? Dear learners, if you have any question, you can ask.
Hello, sir.
Don't hesitate to ask. You can ask in Odia, in English or Hindi. It's up to you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
ବଞ୍ଚିବା ପାଇଁ କିଛି କରିବାକୁ
Hello.
ପଡିବ। Cool.
Hello, sir. What is
Yes.
contextualizing development?
Contextualizing a development, that means the development is the I have given the shortest form. डेवलपमेंट को केमती गोटे कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज करा जिवो डेवलपमेंट गोटे कांसेप्ट गोटे माने एस्पेक्ट केमती भाबरे फुल इफेक्ट पकोची कि बळी भाबरे गोटे मॉडर्न माइंड ना दिस आइडिया फॉर डेवलपमेंट इज थॉट टू बी द लिविंग स्पिरिट behind every human success in the that field of industry agriculture ତେଣୁ ତାକୁ ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟ ଭିତରକୁ ଆଣୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟଟା କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ହେବ ତେଣୁ ଇଟ୍ ଅଲସୋ that infuses a that sense of grief in the controlling and understanding the that particularly they complete the transformation of a society. Society the development करी किभଳି भाବରେ transformation हबो किंती environmental हमर जो shortest the possible time भितरे गोटे कम समय भितरे किभଳି आमे डेवलपमेंट करि परिबो विकास करि परिबा से विकासटा किभଳି भाବରେ हमर एक्जिस्टेंस पई फ्रूटफुल हबो एटाकू माने डेवलपमेंट कॉन्टेक्स्टुअलाइज करा माने कम समय भितर गोटे कम माने केमते डेवलपमेंट करा इट इज
Any more question if you have? Hello.